A massive split in the UPA, one of Congress's oldest allies. The NCP has openly broken rank with the grand old party and is rooting for a stable government led by Narendra Modi. Senior NCP leader and Union Minister Praful Patel has torn into the Congress's leadership, calling it arrogant. Patel spoke exclusively to our editor-at-large Rahul Kamal. Take a look.
The Election Express is in the capital and we are counting down to counting day. Joining us now, senior NCP leader Praful Patel. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us on the Election Express. What do you think of our fancy mobile studio?
Well, I think it's really, I would to use the word sexy, because I saw it on the television while you were campaigning in various parts of the country, and it's interesting because it's like a, USP, and it walks into or drives into a small village, and I'm sure it attracts such interest.
Okay, it was the leaders who were campaigning. We were just covering their campaign. But I want to begin by asking you about where the UPA is placed. With just hours to go for counting to begin, all the exit polls show a clear whitewash for the UPA and the Congress. How did things go so badly wrong for your alliance?
Well, while acknowledging the fact that it certainly looks BJP, by a long shot ahead of everybody else, and the NDA certainly in striking distance of coming to power. But let me just qualify that, exit polls, opinion polls have gone wrong in the past. I mean, I'm sure everybody says the same thing.
Sure.
But I've seen it in 2004 and 2009. So to that extent, I must acknowledge that the BJP and the NDA are way ahead of the UPA or any other combination in the country. And it's most likely that they will emerge as the largest party. And certainly they may have a chance at government formation. But let's hold our horses till the 16th.
Sure. I want to move away from the numbers because there's the reality of Indian politics at this time. You've traveled, you understand that best. In 2009, when the Congress came to power, the UPA came to power, everyone said the BJP is now out of power for the next 20 years. How have things gone so badly wrong? You must have had time to introspect, to wonder from the position of 2009 to where the UPA is fallen now. How did the script go so wrong?
Well, I must acknowledge that the script did go wrong because in 2004, when the government came to power, there were very little expectations, of course, because it was also, the winner didn't know what hit them, the loser didn't know what, struck them. It was like a very, weird situation. And it settled down well, and the Prime Minister and the entire, I think the UPA as a mechanism, and I must acknowledge that the left parties were like a strong anchor as well as a strong check and balance on the government. Of course, not to the liking of people who like the country's economics to move forward, but that notwithstanding, I think the first 5 years went off well. It was like a, a soothing influence. Even the Dr. Singh's influence on the government was very like a, balm, which took care of the rough edges, and I think it worked well. But in the second 5 years, I'm sure that the Congress got far too many seats. I mean, which is good for them. I have no grudge for that. But as a consequence of that, I think the Congress drifted away from the principle of trying to take everybody along, and almost felt, that it is a Congress government, which I cannot certainly, complain, because with 208 seats, they had every right to do so. But I think given the complexity of Indian politics and coalition politics, if it would have been much better if they'd involved other parties, including the NCP. While they can always say, and we can always, acknowledge that, yes, we are part of the government, so what have we got to complain? But, everything is not just about running a government. There's also a political process along with the running of a government. Our country, it just doesn't run on pure, compartments. And I think there, the Congress took on the mantle of saying that whatever is happening is, is because of us. And as a consequence, I think they slightly got isolated, and nobody is there to own up for, anything which has happened in the government.
In private conversations with ministers from various allies, I've always heard this complaint about lethargy having set in, that no one wanted to do anything. Everyone was just very happy with the way things were. Why did this whole policy paralysis reach such an acute level?
No, I think, even the handling of certain things, like even the 2G issue. I mean, irrespective of what the truth is, time will tell. I don't want to get into that at this moment. But, the way it could have been handled more deftly, more politically, there was that, whole issue of the JPC being sought for. I think a JPC would have been a far better mechanism to come to arrive at something, and probably it would have been more, I would say, acknowledging of certain, things which have been otherwise perceived as wrong or fundamentally corrupt or whatever. And probably a JPC would have looked at it much more objectively.
But do you think it happened because there were too many technocrats instead of politicians taking decisions?
I don't know. I don't know, because you see, the ownership of that entire exercise, vested with the Congress party. They decided that no JPC and, whatever. I mean, then things have evolved and flowed after that, and we all know what's happened. But the fact is, at that time, if they had gone by a larger political consensus, which has built up already, and I was present in some of those meetings with the opposition parties, and it would have been nice, if that at that time had been accepted. Probably from then on, I think, it's not just about the 2G and how people perceive it, but I think the entire political dialogue between all parties in Parliament, the opposition and the coalition which was ruling, should have had some kind of a working relationship. And I think from that day onwards, it just collapsed. And as a consequence, anything which came up in the Parliament or, in the media became, viewed as with suspicion. The opposition went all out to, defame the government. And I think in every way, the government really fell short. Because even within the Congress party, and I'm saying this, and this is not something, I'm not sharing some secret, but the fact is that, and it's been said so many times, even yesterday I've been seeing some of the interviews of my distinguished colleagues from the Congress who try to, in a way, distance the party from the government. Well, I don't think any political party which is running a government can actually isolate or, say, okay, we are, different from the government.
Because Sanjay Baru's book makes it clear that the government was actually being run by Sonia Gandhi. Is that the sense you got as well, Minister?
No, I'm not going to give a comment on Sanjay Baru's book and specific to Sonia Gandhi, because, it would be unfair on my part, having been a part of the government and the UPA, to be, complaining about these things. But the fact is, yes, certainly, at some stage, the Congress party tried to distance itself from the government. Even Mr. Rahul Gandhi's the last comment on the ordinance. Well, I've said it earlier, so I have no hesitation in saying it now, that, it could have been handled with a much better, degree of sensitivity to a situation. Because, while you say what you have said, maybe you're right and there's no harm in expressing your opinion, but maybe even that was the mood of the country, so he was right. But you cannot say that what my government has done is not my, baby. It ultimately will boomerang on you. So many of these things, through the course of the, years, the Congress party kept on, isolating or insulating itself from the government. And as a consequence, you are ultimately going to go and ask for a vote on the basis of what? Your government's performance. You're not going to say my party's got a performance what? Ultimately, people are going to judge you on what? So this was, I think, something which could have been handled better.
Do you think Manmohan Singh's weak prime ministership, his weak leadership, is what has created a vacuum that created the phenomena called Modi?
Well, I think, I won't say vacuum, but I wished, he could have been a little bit more assertive. He's a gentleman. I know him, having worked with him for all these years. He's decisive, he's firm. Let's not,
He doesn't seem decisive or firm.
No, he is decisive.
In what way? We haven't seen decisions when decisions are required.
But you see, between him and the Congress party, what were the reasons for certain decisions being delayed, deferred, or not taken? I cannot comment on. But I certainly feel that I'm talking of the times when I have experienced that if he wanted to be decisive and firm, he did.
So why didn't he be decisive and firm on other occasions?
Well, that's for him and the Congress party to, address that issue, because it's very difficult for me to comment.
So are you suggesting then that Manmohan Singh could have been and wanted to be and was on occasions firm, but on occasions when he wasn't firm, it was because the party didn't allow him to be firm?
Well, many a times, as I said, there have been many contradictions over the years where, the Congress party has always said something and the government has probably acted slightly differently. So we can't have this kind of a disconnect. At the end of the day, you see, that's why I'm saying at the net result may have been positive, but perception-wise, the people started believing that there's something wrong or there's a disconnect between party and government. But again, as I said, I'm no insider to comment on the affairs
you
of
are
the
an insider.
No, insiders of the Congress party. I
But
cannot
you've
comment on
seen
that.
the Congress party function in respect to this government. And what you're saying is spot on, that you can't disassociate yourself from your own government. It's not a BJP government, it's your own government.
Yes.
And that way, do you believe they've been very unfair to the Prime Minister?
No, I think, well, I don't want to, again, I have a high regard for the respect for the Prime Minister, but all I feel is that over the years, the government should have been certainly, more proactive on certain issues. Like you see, look how the entire infrastructure story, the entire, sector after sector, the story started going, wrong, was because of, the environmental issues. Well, we respect the environment. We know there are certain restrictions put in by the Supreme Court. There is the Green Tribunal and various other things. But having said that, there was certain, the response of the government to those situations was not, the way it should have been. And in fact, the government at times, came in the way of many development projects. That sent a wrong sentiment and created so many obstacles in the path of growth. So, besides this also, I mean, this is only on an administrative side I'm saying, but even in terms of, various things, if there's a diesel or a petrol price hike, the government does something, the party says something else. And then at the end of the day, the government goes ahead and does it. How can you say that the government has increased the price of petrol or diesel and the Congress party has nothing to do with it? I mean, it's your government. Either you increase the price or don't increase the price. But it sends wrong signals to the people. It should have been that, okay, whatever is happening, we associate with it, we respect it, and we had to do it because it was inevitable. I think certain things needed to be acknowledged rather than, creating that kind of a disconnect and the people not, really wondering what is happening, who's speaking the truth or who's speaking, in the larger interest of the country.
Completely the opposite to Manmohan Singh's Prime Ministership, which really lowered expectations. Narendra Modi has been able to send expectations into a frenzy. We're already seeing the markets orgasmic because of the possibility of Modi coming to power. Do you think Prime Minister Modi, if he were to get a chance to go to 7 Racecourse Road, will be able to live up to the high expectations he's built?
Well, you see, he certainly has caught the imagination of the people. As I've been seeing even their own statements, interviews, some of the people you all interview also. Yes, there is an expectation, there's a hope which he's built, that I will come and do this and I will do that. Well, this is all ultimately very easy to stir up emotions and passions. We are also politicians. When the chips are down for the opposition, to stir up a negative sentiment is not a very difficult job. But let me tell you one thing, governance is not as easy, and even though people criticize the UPA for many shortcomings, people are angry with the UPA for whatever reasons, let me also be equally honest by telling that, when whoever, including Mr. Modi, if he comes tomorrow to power, he's not going to find the path very easy and bed of roses. It's going to be, not a honeymoon which is going to last very long.
But he believes decisive leadership can change a lot of the problems.
No, that's why I'm saying I don't want to, run down anybody before anybody has even taken that chair and had a chance at governance. So it'd be unfair. But I'm just trying to give a word of caution, and including people who got expectations, sky high and, beyond all limits of imagination that, Mr. Modi will come and do this or that, okay, fine. He may be a good administrator. He may be able to do good things. I'm not judging anybody today. But I'm just trying to also caution that, building up such high expectations need not necessarily, actually translate into decisive action.
The election express was in Maharashtra when the campaigning was on. And we saw Modi was very virulent against the Congress, but very soft on the NCP. And on the ground, people felt that there was some sort of a hidden fixed match where he and the NCP were not targeting each other. Did you fix the match with Modi?
This is, completely. This is completely wrong. There's no question of fixing. We are with the Congress, and definitely we have to, take the, credit and the blame both as part of the government. I think I don't know whether what you say is right. He's done equal, whatever anti-statements or rallies and everything against the NCP as much as the Congress. Also,
he didn't campaign in seats where NCP leaders were standing.
No, I don't think.
The campaigning was mostly concentrated on seats where Congress leaders were standing.
No, I don't think that is true, or that is to a plan or something. If at all that is the impression. No, it is absolutely wrong. In fact, I would only say that yes, naturally, when he is contesting a national election, the principal party in the UPA being the Congress party, he may have been taking on the Congress head-on much more than any other political party. But I have been in Maharashtra both as a candidate and as a campaigner, and I have not found that our people have been less affected by the Modi so-called enthusiasm among certain sections of the voters. We've been affected as much as the Congress party. So to say that we are or he is soft on us, or we have some kind of a tacit understanding, would be absolutely unfair.
But we've seen occasions when you've come out and said that Modi's been given a clean sheet of time. Then when that wasn't the Congress line, the NCP and especially Praful Patel has taken a different line.
Well, am I not entitled to my own personal opinion?
Absolutely.
What I feel that is the right way to go. On Snoopgate, we were trying to establish a commission of inquiry in the last 2 weeks of our government. I thought it was not right, because perception-wise, people would have felt that this is some kind of witch hunting. May not be true, but that would be the impression. And I don't think, if I feel certain things, which I feel very strongly about, I don't think I should really worry what somebody else is thinking about it. I know what my politics is. I know what my views are. And I also think that certain things in public life, whether you like somebody or not, whether you fight against somebody or not, the fact of the matter is you have to say what you feel is right. And I think after I spoke, Omar spoke immediately after that. I don't think I have ever spoken to Omar on this issue at all. And I think, so there you have an answer.
There's been a lot of buzz around Delhi that Praful Patel has a soft corner for Modi. Some have gone to the extent of suggesting that Praful Patel may join the BJP.
Well, I think this is very speculative. I don't want to comment on something, which is not true. And as I said that, I'm entitled to my own opinion, and I will say what I think is in the larger interest of the nation, or what I think is right according to me. I mean, that is my viewpoint, and I maintain.
So you are agreeing there is speculation around it. You are agreeing there is a possibility that you may join the BJP.
Not at all. No. This is, putting words in my mouth. I represent the NCP. I stand with the NCP, and I think I have a very high regard and respect for Sharad Pawar.
So let me ask you a different question.
That is the reason why I am in the NCP.
So let me ask you
I was a member of the Congress party, but when Mr. Pawar left, I felt that I have an association with him for so many years, and I would be happy
let me
to
ask you a
continue
different
my
question.
politics.
Can Praful Patel and Sharad Pawar both reach some sort of an understanding with the BJP and be a part of a larger NDA?
No, I am not going to give you any answers for that, for the simple reason.
Why not?
No, because the answer is already given. We have been a part of the UPA. We fought the elections as part of the UPA against BJP and the NDA. Isn't that an answer enough? I mean, if we had anything to do with Mr. Narendra Modi, and as you were trying to speculate that he was soft on us, we would have might as well gone and contested along with him. That answer, I think, is, this is not, it's like chiding somebody and wanting to get, something out of somebody. It's not fair, because after all, we are people who have a standing in public life. If we want to do something, we'll do it through the front door.
Do you think Rahul Gandhi will be able to revive the Congress after the 16th of May?
Well, you see, let me be frank about one thing. Nobody can be written off in politics. This has been established time and time again, that any political entity, if you say that he's going to be finished, Chandra Babu 10 years ago, nobody would have said that for 10 years, he'll be out and nobody talk about him. There he is. Narasimha Rao, our late Prime Minister, had retired from politics and was not even contesting the election, and suddenly there was a accident and whatever happened, and he came to be the Prime Minister. And the Congress party has also shown the resilience of being out of power, being wiped out after the emergency. I thought people said that, Congress will never ever be, seen on the face of this country, and Congress has been there and will be around for the next how many years. So I don't want to, comment on any political parties. Vajpayee himself lost in 1984. BJP was reduced to 2 seats in the Lok Sabha, and there you have the BJP now and having a government in the past. So these are
But there is a difference. That Vajpayee, Narasimha Rao, all of them are proven administrators. As we travel on the Election Express across the country, the one question that people constantly ask is, and this is in the smallest of towns, smallest of villages, people say the same thing. We won't make an intern CEO of our company. How can we make Rahul Gandhi our Prime Minister?
Well,
how does Rahul fight that perception?
No, I think, listen, I'll be again very, straightforward. I don't believe that kind of thing. He's a leader of a political party. He's been an MP for 10 years. You may question whatever, but the fact is that maybe 5 years down the line, sitting in this same bus or maybe the newer version of it, you may well be talking that, there's a resurgent Congress.
So what does he need to do that? How does someone like him take on a powerful leader like Modi? There is his lack of confidence which he exudes, which the Congress cadre feels as well. They don't think of him as a strong leader. You know that fully well. How does he change that in 5 years? What would you suggest he does?
No, I think, adversity brings out the best in people, and maybe that may work to his advantage. Maybe this will be a great learning experience for him in the next 5 years. I mean, I don't know how the situation is going to unfold, but I'm just giving him the benefit of, I'm sure, the past experience of so many leaders, and he may emerge stronger in the next 5 years, for all you know. And therefore, I would never write off anybody in politics, and one shouldn't.
Sure. Neither of us have a crystal ball. Who knows what happens 5 years hence? But it's been great having you on the Election Express. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you.